Between 1971 and 1973, the quiet city of Rochester, New York was shaken by a series of disturbing and eerily connected murders. Three young girls, each with matching initials in both their first and last names, were abducted, assaulted, and murdered. Their bodies were found in small towns whose names also began with the same letter as their initials. This strange pattern led investigators to call the unknown perpetrator the alphabet killer. To this day, the identity of the killer remains unknown. No arrest was ever made. No confession ever came. And no evidence has ever definitively solved who carried out these chilling crimes. Tonight, we dive into one of America's most unsettling cold cases, a mystery built on patterns, fear, and unanswered questions.
The first known victim was Carmen Colon, a 10-year-old girl whose disappearance marked the beginning of a horrifying pattern. On November 16, 1971, Carmen left a local pharmacy, but she never made it home. Multiple drivers later reported seeing a terrified girl matching her description running along Interstate 490, desperately trying to escape a moving car. 2 days later, her body was found in the town of Chile, New York, the first matching initial, CC. Carmen's death shocked Rochester. The brutality of the crime, the witnesses who saw her attempt to flee, and the fact that no one was able to stop the abduction left investigators with overwhelming guilt and pressure. Police questioned family members, including a relative who had a criminal history, but no evidence tied him to the killing. Carmen's murder would become the first of three chillingly similar crimes. On April 2, 1973, Wanda Volkovich, age 11, disappeared while walking home from a local grocery store. Several witnesses recalled seeing her carrying a bag of groceries, struggling against the wind. Less than 24 hours later, her body was discovered in the town of Webster, New York, another double initial, WW. Unlike Carmen, no one witnessed her abduction. There were no frantic sightings, no desperate escape attempts. But investigators noticed similarities. All victims were young girls. All were abducted near familiar locations. All were found in towns sharing their initials. All were sexually assaulted. Despite interviewing more than 100 people, police found no strong suspects. Fear began to spread through Rochester. Parents no longer let their children walk alone. The media had a name for the killer, and it stuck. Later that same year, on November 26, 1973, Michelle Menza, age 11, vanished while walking home from school. Several witnesses reported seeing her crying in a dark-colored vehicle driven by an unidentified man. 2 days later, her body was discovered in Macedon, New York, another chilling double initial, MM. Unlike the first two cases, witnesses said the man driving the car seemed calm, almost comfortable. He had enough confidence to abduct a child in broad daylight. By this point, investigators were convinced they were looking for one individual, someone familiar with the Rochester area, someone comfortable navigating multiple towns. But despite dozens of leads, once again, the case went cold. By the end of 1973, Rochester police, state investigators, and the FBI were working together on the case. Still, there were no arrests. The investigation was massive. Over 800 suspects, dozens of tip lines, thousands of pages of interviews, behavioral profiling by early FBI experts. Patterns were studied. Sex offenders were questioned. Bus drivers, delivery workers, mechanics, anyone familiar with children's routes, were investigated. Major suspect number 1, Kenneth Bianchi. Known as one of the Hillside Stranglers, Bianchi lived in Rochester during the Alphabet murders. He had the right profile, manipulative, violent, and familiar with the area. But no physical evidence tied him to the crimes. Major suspect number 2, Joseph Naso. Decades later, serial killer Joseph Naso would be arrested with a list of victims also having matching initials. But again, he had no confirmed presence in Rochester at the time. Major suspect number 3, local perpetrator theory. Many investigators believe the killer was a Rochester local, familiar with children's habits, comfortable driving long distances, able to identify opportunities quickly. Despite all this work, the case remained unsolved. Every suspect eventually hit a dead end. By the mid-1970s, the Alphabet killer had become a symbol of fear. Parents kept their children inside. Schools held emergency safety meetings. News outlets ran constant coverage. often sensationalizing details. The story captured national attention. Books, documentaries, and criminal profiling studies referenced the case as one of America's most chilling, unsolved series of child murders. Yet the strongest legacy of the alphabet killer is not the mystery. It's the families who were left without answers. Carmen, Wanda, and Michelle never saw justice. Their families never saw closure. And their killer walked away without ever being identified. More than 50 years have passed since the alphabet murders. The killer, if alive, would be old, perhaps in his 70s or 80s. But the mystery remains as powerful as ever. 3 girls, 3 matching initials, 3 unsolved crimes. Someone out there knew these girls. Someone out there remembers the man behind the wheel. And someone, somewhere, still holds the truth. This is the case of the alphabet killer. A pattern of terror, a trail of fear, and a mystery forever etched into American true crime history.